If you look at China's cross-border direct-to-customer commerce, it's over $300 billion a year. But when you think of the Indian export ecosystem, there is no such name that you hear of. Cross-border regulations are not clearly very well defined. There are some rules. There is no clear information as to what is allowed, what is not allowed. I was slapped with a huge customs bill. My shipment was stuck. No one knows what the regulations are. No one understands how it works. No one knows how to make it economically effective. I was a founding engineer in two successful unicorn multi-billion-dollar startups. We're not confined just to a marketplace, but think of us like a cross-border operating system for any local brand to expand globally. 30% of our customers are of non-Indian origin. Less people are trying to figure out where the brand has origin. If the brand is making a difference in their life, they're willing to give it a try no matter where it originates from. Over the last 9 months, we saw the app sales increase from 7% to almost 22%. After accounting for all the storage fee, Amazon fulfillment fee is barely 5 to 10%. I think you can frankly make more money on that by lending it out to some. 30% of our customers are of non-Indian origin. Indian products that are made in India are now gaining global prominence. Don't think that your audience is just Indian people living abroad. We strongly feel that mobile app is one of the major channels which we ourselves are focusing on, because to build a long-term sustainable business, we feel that we need to have a large audience coming from app.
Hi, Kiran. Welcome to the Brewed podcast. From where are you joining?
I'm joining from Mountain View, California.
Great. Thank you for taking out time with us. We have known each other for 2 years, and every day, the more we learn about you, it's kind of enriching experience for me as a learning from a fellow founder. Would just love to know about your journey, starting from Bits Pilani to Silicon Valley, and then coming back to India. So brand founder would get an inspiration to know your journey. How does it who is Kiran? What is he trying to achieve? What has been the past?
Sure. Yeah. Abhijit, I think thanks for the introduction. I think you've already said that I'm from Bits Pilani. So that's where I graduated from with a bachelor's in computer science. And after that, I came to US for my master's, in computer science at Texas A&M University. Right after that, I immediately moved to Silicon Valley, the heart of the startup ecosystem in the US. And it's been a privilege to be part of, the Silicon Valley startup journey for the past 15 plus years, where I got to learn, take inspiration from a lot of great minds. And I've witnessed I had an opportunity to see how unicorn startups are built from the front row seat, because I was a founding engineer in two successful unicorn multi-billion-dollar startups. So it's kind of an extremely enriching and awesome experience to be part of all of this. So I felt that after working at two successful startups, I felt that I could leverage the experience and the expertise that I've gained, right? And the kind of ecosystem that I'm part of. I felt I wanted to kind of do something of my own. And I felt that I also want to do something that makes contributes to the Indian economy, right? So I was trying to apply my background in technology and core technology experience in a way that can benefit India. And I realized that Indian exports is not as streamlined as that of China, right? So if you look at China's cross-border direct-to-customer commerce, it's over $300 billion a year, with the likes of AliExpress, Temu, Shein being the leading marketplace. But when you think of the Indian export ecosystem, there is no such name that you hear of, right? So that is that is something with a country with as much capable people as that of India, and the talented people that we have. I felt that it's just that people need a platform to be able to showcase their manufacturing and prowess and stuff like that. So I felt that something in core infrastructure, the tech infrastructure for cross-border expansion, is lacking for Indian brands. So we started first with a marketplace where that was kind of our testing ground to understand how much market potential there is for Indian brands. And we have started seeing a lot of traction. And of course, India's growth has been kind of an exceptional in the past 2 decades. And that kind of helped us. It was a tailwind that we were noticing, and that kind of propelled us forward. So with this experience that we have in expanding Indian brands across the border, we built a lot of technology, compliance, automation, using artificial intelligence and all of that stuff. So as the next step forward, we are not confining just ourselves just to our marketplace, but we want to use the technology that we have built in helping Indian brands expand on various channels using our tech infrastructure. So that is what we are set out to do now.
What was the trigger for it? Like I can totally relate to you, like being at the front seat of like the startup with large outcomes. So what was that one single trigger that, okay, this is the problem, I'm going to solve for next 10 years or a decade. And you already started experimenting. So we would love to like get into that movement where it's like, okay, this is it, I'm starting.
Sure. So I think I've had a few experiences when I tried to buy products from India, because the Indian product prices in US, I'm from Bay Area, even with the amount of products, Indian products that are accessible, they're quite expensive, right? I'm not talking about regular grocery items, but specialty Indian item or anything like that is of interest. They have always costed a lot. So I tried importing them from India, but I was slapped with a huge customs bill once, and another time that my shipment was stuck. It was just like a chaos, right? I had no idea what was happening, and there was no one to support and tell me what's going on. And I felt that it's kind of a broken ecosystem, right? So people try to ship a product across the border, but if it comes, it comes. Otherwise, it doesn't come. No one knows what the regulations are. No one understands how it works. No one knows how to make it economically effective, and compelling for a customer who is sitting outside of India to buy Indian products at an affordable price without huge customs bill or huge delivery charges. So I felt that that is something that a personal pain that I experienced, and a combination of two different factors. One is my need to buy products from India, and the second one being the kind of broken ecosystem that there is in trying to import products from India. These two together compelled me to figure out a way to use my technology background in solving this problem.
Yeah. So, just getting on to the name, like Distacart, and now that's then the another platform, Dista Global. How do you define yourself, like, or the company? Is it like a marketplace, a logistic platform, or what is it? Or a platform for brands? So, if somebody has to imagine, like, the brand Dista, like, how should they think about it? Or any brand founder, like, based out of India, or let's say based out of states, how should they think of brand Dista?
So Dista, the name Dista stands for distance, right? So we are trying to shrink the distance in cross-border commerce. That's fundamentally what we're trying to do. Just like we have quick commerce that emerged as a new market category. So we are trying to create a distance commerce category, right? Where any brand, just like they're expanding on Amazon, on their D2C and quick commerce, they should also consider distance commerce. So that is what we're trying to pioneer, right? So we're not confined just to a marketplace, but think of us like a cross-border operating system for any local brand to expand globally. Of course, India is our primary focus, but eventually, once we have solved the problem in India, we don't want to confine ourselves to one market. I think the technology that we're building and the kind of infrastructure that we've built, it's kind of agnostic to a country. But I think India has the we feel the kind of opportunity that is there with India, and the kind of need for technology. I feel it is the strongest in India. But having said that, our goal is to kind of create this category called distance commerce.
Got it. Tell me the founding story about you and your co-founder Vamsi. So, like, how did it happen?
So we have of course, two other co-founders, Vamsi being one of them. Vamsi and I are classmates from BITS. And after that, Vamsi, became one of the first few employees of a decacorn company called Nutanix, where he was a founding engineer. He has built teams with hundreds of engineers, and he's he helped scale that company to do very well in terms of its tech story and all of that. So, and after that, he joined another unicorn startup where he was one of the first few engineers, and he built a lot of product and he's managed a lot of teams. So with him as a co-founder, I felt that we can actually solve this problem together. He has a deeper technology experience and broader he has covered more breadth. I was more into core operating system and Linux kernel, firmware, and stuff like that. But Vamsi has a much broader experience in terms of using artificial intelligence, cloud technologies, and stuff like that. And just us two techies trying to solve a problem is never sufficient, right? Because we are trying to solve an operations heavy problem, right? And of course, we're trying to infuse tech in it and to minimize operations. So that is where our third co-founder, Mr. Rajesh, I have known him since my childhood. He has a lot of experience in managing cross-border, like shipping, fulfillment, and stuff like that. And he has worked in multiple, companies in UAE, Libya before the revolution, and all these countries. So he has a lot of experience in handling operations. So he's our third co-founder. He's based out of India, and he runs the operations in India. Vamsi and I sit here, and we manage the tech, marketing, and all the other stuff.
Got it. And tell us tell us the story of when did you run your pilots? The start is always like it has fun, it has grit, and it has the testing part. So tell us the first few months when you kind of testing Distacart. How was it? Like, take us through the memories.
Yeah. So of course, it has always been a roller coaster. I'm sure as a startup co-founder, you understand with me, there are so many highs and lows, right? But of course, in the beginning, when you start things out, you have a lot of doubts. Will it fly? Will it work? Right? What should I expect out of it? Will it even kind of make sense for customers and all of that? But once you start seeing some initial few sales, right? I mean, that gives you a lot of adrenaline rush, right? To see that, yeah, wow, people want to buy it from us, right? So that making customers pay the first dollar out of their wallet without knowing who you are, without having a lot of trust and faith in you, that has been the biggest challenge. So there was a time when I was handling the customer support calls because there is no customer support team, right? It was a one-man army. Vamsi and I have just put some tech, and I was running some marketing campaigns, and there are 3-4 people that we hired in India who were we rented a small space. They were sleeping in one room, and they were fulfilling orders in the other room. So that was the kind of setup that we had, and we didn't have any customer support, specialists. So I was directly handling all the customer support myself. So there were times when customers were blasting me, if there is a delay in order, it was a lot of chaos in the beginning, but I also get to learn a lot of stuff on what customers care for and what they wanted. So definitely, if not for those initial days with me in the trenches, right, and trying to understand what customers really want, I think that paved a foundation, paved a path for us to build a solid foundation for what has become now a global marketplace for Indian products and the technology platform that we've built.
Yeah. So now getting into the tech and the operation parts of it. As an Appbrew, we work with 200 plus brands, and every brand is unique. They have their own unique operational challenges, and we believe that especially the logistics part is the toughest one. Last mile delivery, and then whenever there is a cross border, we start seeing problems, which hard problems that needs a lot of tech and regulatory issues. Would like to understand how does a Distacart manages it with 5,000 brands, and that too, India is not in a uniform market. So especially for any platform, sourcing is the hardest challenge. How did you go about it, and how do you manage on a daily basis?
So I think you said it rightly. Even for a company that does domestic commerce, right, logistics is a big challenge, right? Because there are so many zip codes to serve, in every nook and corner of a country. In case of domestic commerce, packages could get lost anywhere. There could be delays in procurement. There are so many issues. But now, if you think about such a scenario in a cross-border setup, no, that gets amplified, and it's exponentially more challenging, right? Given that on top of the complexities in procurement, fulfillment, and logistics that we have, now you have to cross multiple countries, and reach the final destination while ensuring that all the regulations are followed, even while exporting it out of India and importing in the destination country. And plus the fact that we handle this in 40 plus countries, it took a lot of effort for us to figure out things the hard way. cross-border regulations are not clearly very well defined. Of course, there are some rules, but it's because it is related to government regulation and stuff like that. There is no clear information as to what is allowed, what is not allowed. So it took us a lot of effort to understand the regulation, right? Of course, we go to the regulatory body websites and try to understand from our carriers what is allowed, what is not allowed. But what is usually written in a document is not the same as what applies in practice. So we really had to, even when we built technology with the regulation that we had, once we really shipped out an order, we had to learn a lot of things which were not really defined anywhere else. Even with the technology that we were using, we always had to adapt and learn from what the reality is telling us versus what is in theory, what does the regulation say. So there were scenarios where we got notices from various regulatory bodies in various countries saying, okay, this specific mixture of ingredients is not allowed, right? There is more metal content in certain product, right? So the product that you are trying to export to a country has a plant species that is endangered. So these are the kind of issues that we've seen. And there was in this specific scenario where the ingredient in one of the products was apparently a part of a species that is endangered, that plant species. So that actually became a huge issue for us because then a European government from a country, I believe it's Netherlands, has notified Indian government, and they really thought that we were doing smuggling. So they raided our offices with 20 customs officers. It's a proper raid. They were hiding in a hotel and just coming in the morning and just raided everywhere, and then kind of they thought it's some drugs export that is happening, right? So that was a kind of experience that we had to go through. But once we but if not for those experiences, I don't think would have built the kind of technology that we did. So we showed them our entire system, walked them through our entire process, and we have shown them how much effort we put in trying to comply with all the regulations. And of course, if there are certain things that are evolving, right, we would like to learn from them. So that is where establishing that relationship with regulators actually kind of made it easy for us to kind of solve this problem, because it's very difficult to do this without having a proper relationship with various regulatory bodies. And that is just one part of it. Now coming to RBA, there are some Reserve Bank of India regulations that you have to follow when money from another country comes in and exports from a country go out. Right? So that is where we had to work with Reserve Bank of India to understand what the regulations are, especially when no one was taking cross-border regulations very seriously. People were figuring out a jugaad way of doing things where as long as it doesn't cause a problem and no one comes and poses a problem, until then they're fine. They try to just do things in any way that is possible, right? But that is now not how we wanted to do things. So we work with regulatory bodies across exports, GST officials, RBI officials. There are a lot of kind of different regulatory bodies that have worked within various countries. I think that is what has helped us kind of build the system that we have. And it's been quite a journey.
Wow. I never knew about this. What are the, let's say a lot of brand founders will look at it, or like they will watch this. What are the things that you can share? Like some things at the top of the mind. Let's say a fashion brand founder would be ignoring or they wouldn't be they wouldn't know this. Most of the fashion brands, they operate out of India. We have brands where revenue contribution is up to 40-50% of the DTC revenue. So what is something, what are the common things which you see that brands do not know? For a fashion founder, for a CPG founder, let's say for a jewelry founder. So if you can just share a few things, which would be valuable for the brands in
Sure.
cross-border.
I'll start with things that apply commonly across various categories. We'll start with the basic foundation, and as the category becomes more and more challenging with more restrictions in terms of regulations, I'll add more layers on top of it. What are the additional things that some sensitive categories have to kind of go through, right?
Yeah.
The basic stuff is that you need to understand that there are regulations in terms of exports and imports, in terms of the goods, like declaration, certification, and stuff like that. And then there are rules that you have to follow in the destination country in terms of collecting taxes based on the different categories that the products have and based on the economic nexus, physical nexus, or whatever it is. And the third part is that, you need to figure out the right way to get products shipped out of the country and receive foreign currency to reconcile the products that are shipped to ensure that it's exactly matching the money that is coming in matches the declared value. And the fourth one that comes into picture is compliances in terms of the user interface. So especially in countries like US, Europe, and all of these like modern Western economies, people take these regulations very seriously. For example, if you think about privacy regulation, right? GDPR, CCPA, California Privacy Act. And now in US, almost every state has its own privacy law. If you don't comply with that, that is a very big problem. Like again, when we were going through all these regulatory issues, we got slapped with like in a lawsuit in New York for not complying with like disabled friendly lenses, right? So you have to comply with with the regulations that a colorblind person should be able to browse your website using a screen reader. Accessibility, right? So now how will a founder sitting in India understand all of these, right? So there are so many, I mean, you will fly under the radar when you're small. But if you're a decent sized brand or you raised venture capital, when you have built a certain reputation in the market, let's say you're a celebrity who has founded a brand, these are kind of unknowns for you. So see, feigning ignorance is not going to help solve any problem. When you get sued, you can't say that I didn't know about it. That's not an option. Yeah. So these are the 4 areas where I would look at it fundamentally. Even if you take I would say clothing is a relatively simpler category to enter because the regulations in terms of because it's not a consumable. You don't apply it to your body, you just wear it, right? So the regulations for such categories are not that complicated. But let's say you think I don't need to collect sales tax in US because I'm based out of India. It doesn't work like that. So especially when the brand is sizable, you need to register for sales tax in every state, and not just in US. In Canada you need to do, in Australia you need to do, in Europe you need to do. Each country has its own regulation. Now you also need to appoint a person in case there is a problem. So these are some of the things that not many brands are aware of. But don't take taxation easy. Don't take UI compliance easy. Don't take RBI and money inflow easy. And don't take the customs declarations and stuff related to that easily, right? That is something that would apply for every founder across the spectrum. But now if you get into sensitive categories, let's say now it's a beauty brand. Now you need to make sure that some restricted ingredients, let's say a specific ingredient which is probably commonplace in India, right? But it's not allowed in a specific country. How do you know that ingredient can't be shipped in that, right? So now you will start shipping, and only when you have a problem you will realize it, and you will be slapped with a hefty fine, right? Now there are scenarios where just coming back to the sales tax example, there was a company that got sued for $4 million for not registering and paying for sales tax in US. Now these are the things that you will realize only when things happen to you. But when things happen, it's extremely bad. It has reached that stage. And especially with sensitive categories like beauty and ingestibles like Ayurveda, homeopathy, the regulations get more and more complicated. Now you need to worry about heavy metal content. Now you need to worry about whether certain ingredients which are commonplace in India, right now, if they're not allowed in US. And I was also speaking about this example of a product with an ingredient from a plant species that is now endangered. How will you even know about it? But you will just ship it. But now when you have a problem, you will have a major issue, right? Now you need to really understand. If you don't understand it, I suggest that you don't enter the market, because the risks and rewards are not the risks definitely outweigh the reward.
Got it. So thank you for this. Now we'll get into my favorite part, wherein since you're working with so many brands and you see the behavior, the customer behavior outside Indian diaspora. So especially for the brand founders who are watching this, what are the consumer insights that you can share that would be helpful for the brand founders who are building from India to the world, few customer, how the trends are evolving. If you can, share a few things which would be helpful for the founders. And of course, if anybody wants more insight, they will get in touch with you. But
understood. Of course, I'm think of me as an advisor in the cross-border space, whether you choose to work with us or not. I'm happy to always spread the word about what I've learned in cross-border commerce over the years. like, I think in terms of the consumer insights, one important thing is that don't think that your domestic playbook will work in international space. So the things that people in India care about are extremely different from what people care about outside of India. And of course, each market has its own nuances, but typically you can group countries into like Europe, Australia, Americas. You can one and Singapore, New Zealand, Australia. These are one category of countries, right? The modern English speaking or European countries, right? And now there is a second type of group of countries, Middle East, which have which own kind of like what they like, what they don't like, and their preferences. And now we have some South Asian economies, we have Malaysia, and Thailand, and countries somewhere close to that, right? So that is a different that's a different mindset that people have. And of course, then there is South America and parts of Africa, South Africa, which are some of the other countries with its own behavior. But the fundamental thing is that we need to understand that each country should have its own playbook. What people care outside of India is very different from what people care within India, right? So the payment, types that there in India, no one. I mean, I when I visited India, I realized that I can't even live without UPI. I tried that once and it didn't work for me. Right? There is no such thing in countries like US. Every country has its own accepted norms in terms of the payment gateways and stuff like that. So you need to make sure that you offer the local payment options, right? So I see a lot of Indian brand founders, typically just enable, their payment gateway for other countries. They just start accepting Razorpay without understanding, that people might not just prefer a credit card, right? And maybe not every credit card is an international credit card. So you need to make sure that you show local checkout experiences for the maximum, conversion probability. Right. And also people find it trustworthy when you collect taxes and show it upfront clearly how much taxes they owe. And also you need to make sure that the customs duties do not end up being a surprise when an order is delivered. So these are some of the things that people care about, in the sense that if people don't know that if customs are not paid for, they have a lot of hesitation in buying a product from across the border. And not only this, the way pricing works in the international market is very different from that of India. A lot of Indian brands, what they do is that because if they use the same website and they use the same native experience, in terms of how a brand shows up various product prices, shipping prices, they show the product prices in the local, with the local prices in India, whether they're showing in US dollars or not. They're just converting that product price in another currency. But now when you go to checkout, if it is being shipped to US, now you are showing a shipping fee of 3,000 rupees. Now, how do you think a customer will pay a 3,000 rupees a shipping fee for a product that costs probably 500 rupees? So these are some of the things a lot of brands don't think about. But there are huge hindrances, right? And a lot of customers care about privacy, what is happening with my data? Is my information being stolen? Am I in control of my information? So these are some of the things in India probably you don't care about, but it starts having a lot of prominence in the Western world. And you remember, you cannot just email someone without their consent, and you cannot send an SMS to someone during their night time. If you do some of these things, the penalty is extremely high. So it's not worth it at all. These are some of the blind spots I would urge Indian brand founders to understand before they enter the market.
Great. This is very helpful for the founders. In terms of categories, what are your favorite categories which you see a very strong demand from Indian diaspora outside?
Sure. But by the way, I think I forgot to share one important insight. More than 30% of our customers are of non-Indian origin. So that is a very surprising that you've realized. It's not just Indian diaspora. Indian products that are made in India are now gaining global prominence. So don't think that your audience is just Indian people living abroad. There are a lot of non-Indian people that are looking to buy brands these days. And frankly speaking, less people are trying to figure out where the brand has origin. If the brand is solving a problem, and if the brand is meaningful and it's making a difference in their lives, they're willing to give it a try no matter where it originates. So that's an interesting insight. Don't create a customer persona assuming that it's an Indian origin consumer if you're selling outside of India. That's one major insight. And coming back to the question that you asked, if you don't mind, can you repeat that question once more?
Yes. So what are the categories where you see on Distacart as a platform, which are like very hot, or, where you see a lot of demand, like demand
Got it.
momentum building it now
Got
and,
it.
in future, in 1 year. So what are the current like hot categories and where you think the market is going in?
Sure. One privilege of operating a marketplace is that like you get to see the trends that are emerging in the market, right? So you might not see a large enough volume for any specific brand or category, especially when it is small. But relatively speaking, you can understand which brands are trending internationally and which categories are trending internationally. So that is
Mhm.
something that we get a front row seat in observing, right? So in that, Indian wellness as a category, the
Mm.
Ayush brands, Ayurveda, Unani, homeopathy, it's gaining a lot of global prominence. People are looking for holistic way of managing their health and all of that. So that is one area where I see more than 30% non-Indian origin customers, right?
Mhm.
And the second category is Indian beauty. As you have seen, there's been kind of like a explosion in terms of
Mhm.
Indian brands that are like getting into beauty space, right, and nutraceutical
Mhm.
space. So these are other areas where I see a lot of interest building up, and there is a lot of innovation that is coming in. Right, there are a lot of brands that are now world class, and they're competing with brands like L'Oreal for like a global prominence. So that is the second
Mhm.
category where I'm seeing a lot of interesting traction. And the third category is of course clothing, not just the Indian clothing, but also as you can see, Indian clothing manufacturing ecosystem is extremely rich. So I
Mhm.
see a lot of opportunity where you can make the white labeled Indian clothing products available across anywhere across the world, and that is one area where a lot of interest is building up. But I mean, it needs more supply for customers to directly buy from India the same quality of a T-shirt or a shirt that they can get from a brand like Abercrombie Fitch, American Eagle. Most of
Mhm.
them are manufactured in India, but people don't have to pay like hefty price to buy those products. So that is one space where I see a lot of interest building up.
Great. This is like very helpful for us also. So when I have been like, talking to few brands and I like discussed like Distacart value prop. So especially like selling into global audiences has been a rage among brands, and a lot of brands are selling using TikTok as a channel to push their products.
Mm.
And they are also using Amazon as a channel to sell.
Right.
So, what is unique that Distacart does for them, which Amazon cannot? So, I think you would be also getting these questions when you were talking to a lot of brands. So, yeah, please help us here.
Yeah. So the major value proposition that that Distacart has is that if you're selling on Amazon, most of the cases Amazon gives you a lot of push if you stock the inventory with Amazon locally, be it in US, UK,
Yeah.
Australia, wherever. Right. So your best selling products, you can actually figure out what the interest in volume is, and you can probably position the inventory and probably generate a lot of sales. But what will you do with your long tail of products, right? There is no way for you to list the bottom 90% long tail of your products. What if your customers want to buy them, right? So Amazon, if you're not stocking it in Prime, you will not get much visibility.
Mm.
When someone comes to Amazon, they are looking to buy a product. They're like in the sense that multiple brands are vying for customers' attention. Now, if it's not Indian brand, they will go and find a related product from another country or like from US domestic brands, and they do frankly don't care about the fact that it's an Indian brand. Right? For them, it's just another brand that is sitting out there. It doesn't matter where it originates from. But if like on Distacart, people come with the intent of buying Indian products, so they
Mm.
know that they're looking to buy products from India, and they know that Distacart has the largest collection of Indian products. So it doesn't matter whether it's a best-selling product or it's a bottom one of the products in the long tail. It is always going to be available. And the fact that we don't require the brands to store any inventory in like various locations, brands can use their entire catalog that they're selling in India, and the inventory that they're using to sell in India, they can use the same inventory and expand it into multiple countries. And every order that they get, we will help them fulfill directly from India. So that is a value proposition that I feel Amazon doesn't directly cater to. Of course, there is a way to list products on as a fulfilled by merchant, right, where you ship your own products on Amazon, but they don't get any visibility. They're like, Amazon always tries to push brands which are stocking inventory locally. And especially their fees, listing fees, like an inventory fees, they're extremely high. So you barely make any money. I think I would like to think that any brand that is trying to sell on Amazon, they would make more money if they deploy the same capital into a money lending business.
Oh yeah. So they like basically they have to their inventory gets stuck, and the recovery cycles are very long.
They are very
Got
long,
it.
and not only that, but also the amount of margins that they make in the end after accounting for all the storage fee, Amazon fulfillment fee, is like barely like 5 to 10%. I think you can frankly make more money on that by lending it out to some.
So this is the favorite part of my show where I talk to brand founders about app as a channel, owning their customers. So have your initial thoughts, like how has your app journey evolved? And I'm sure Distacart has been like pioneer in adopting app as a channel. Would just love to have your like thoughts, like how it has evolved like over the period of time.
Sure. I think within 1 year, I realized that app is something that that I had to start with, right? So I was one of the very early adopters for app. So at that time, initially we started with a progressive web app, right? So which was kind of like, I'm sure everyone knows it doesn't provide a great experience, but it's better than not having an app, right? So we started with a progressive web app. I mean, we didn't probably push it too hard, but at the same time, it's just like a browser kind of experience. It was okay, but it was a start, right? So we felt that at some point of time we have outlived the progressive web app, and we wanted to go to a native app is what we thought. And that time we didn't have a lot of app-based providers. We didn't, of course, want to build our own app. It was because that requires a lot of effort and maintenance and stuff like that. So we were of course looking for SaaS-based platforms that that would support this mobile app. So there was one app which I'm not able to 100% recollect, but it cost it was very inexpensive, $30-40 a month per each platform, like 30 for Android, 30 for iOS. So we started with that, and of course we had an app, but I mean, they always say you get what you pay for. So we weren't getting a lot of support. It was like very basic, but it was definitely better than the progressive web app. So that is when we decided to move to another app provider. I think Abhijit, you know what app provider that I used when we need Global. So we moved to Global. At that time we actually Global was definitely, I would say, compared to the other app providers that we started working with, I think their value proposition was better because they said they would build unlimited integrations for us. So definitely it was a good start. Initially they didn't have a lot of customers, so they gave us a lot of support in the beginning. But as they scaled and they got a lot more customers, their attention towards us wasn't that great. And then that is when we realized that probably this is not the right app for that anymore. And on top of it, there was a security incident that might have put some of the data that they were handling for their customers at risk. So but the fact that this happened, we weren't so comfortable with them anymore. So now that is the point at which we moved to what is that previous app provider?
You will know them, Tapcart.
Yeah, Tapcart. Yeah. So Tapcart is what we moved to Global because there wasn't any viable alternative for Global. I think that is when probably I first heard from Abhijit when we were working with Tapcart. So it was an easier transition from Global to Tapcart. And to be honest, Tapcart had this mixed app framework where they have a mix of native SDK as well as iframe based rendering, mobile rendering, right? So it was a little better because now we didn't have to go to the app provider with a lot of customizations, right? We still had some flexibility to do certain things ourselves, right? That was the lure with which we entered. We started using Tapcart, right? But I think their support was not great. It was poor. They would always respond to our emails, but they wouldn't get things done. They would always reply saying that okay, it'll be done next week, the week after, so on and so forth. But it wouldn't it wouldn't materialize. They always come up with some excuse to say that okay, it'll be done next week. And they were strictly enforcing a yearly contract. And thankfully we negotiated a monthly contract with them. And they were also taking a lot of percentage of my sales as success, right? And that too while providing a poor support And on top of that, their fixed costs were high, monthly retainer was high, and on top of it, they charged a very high percentage of the fee. And as we scaled our revenue, now that percentage of sales commission started hitting us bad. And especially for the kind of support we were getting, it wasn't making sense for us anymore. That's when I reached out to Abhijit, who, I was in touch with him like a year by that time, and I felt that probably we have outlived even Tapcart, and it's probably worth giving Appbrew a try, right? And we're so glad we did, because our share of app revenue coming from app was barely like 7% when we were with Tapcart. But as soon as we moved to Appbrew, over the last 9 months, we saw the app sales increase from 7% to almost 20%. I think this month will be more than that, it will be 22%. And it's growing steadily month over month. And this is happening while our revenue is also growing. And we strongly feel that mobile app is one of the major channels which we ourselves are focusing now, because we are spending money on advertisements to attract app installs. We are more focused on app as a channel, because to build a long-term sustainable business, we feel that we need to have a large audience coming from app. So our target is to get it to 80%, of the users should be purchasing from app is our goal, to build a strong retention flywheel, right? And we feel we are headed in the right direction with Appbrew as a partner, extremely nimble with their support, and they're always replying to our emails in time. And even after close to 1 year, I've never felt that they're now not treating us as seriously as they did on day one. So that is what I like the most.
Yeah. So thank you for this. I want to understand, you come from a very deep technical background. And since you understood the value of app very early in the journey, you try to give WebView a chance. And most of the brands, due to budget constraints or they don't know whether their customers will have an app or not, they say, why don't we try WebView? That's one. Second is, what? If I have a native app, there are two assets to manage. WebView takes care of both the places are taken care. Because the brand doesn't have unnecessary channel to manage. Everything what they have done on the web is rendered.
Right.
So these are a very strong pull that comes from a marketing team or founders, for WebView. What are your thoughts on this? Because what is the just your thoughts.
I think if you remember from what I said earlier, that is exactly what we started with, because it's easier to just start with one, managing one website while rendering the same thing on a mobile app. That's the progressive web app solution that we started with.
Yeah.
Right? But I can tell you that despite the fact that you can say that you have an app, but the experience is very horrible, right? For an end customer, when they look at it, it's almost like browsing in a on your mobile browser, and it's as slow moving. Transition between screens is very slow. It doesn't provide you the kind of experience anyone has come to expect from using a mobile app, right? So then what is the point in creating an app which wouldn't behave like any other app? So that is the kind of experience that I had. Within 6 months, I felt that native experience is far better than the web browser kind of experience that is available in the web apps, right? So I think I could see a clear distinction, and even a hybrid approach where, which is something that we saw with Tapcart, where some screens were rendered through web and some screens were native, right? Even there, I could still feel a little bit of friction, right, when you're using the mobile app. So I felt that I think a native experience is always better for our customers, right? Because in today's world, and especially when the attention span is so less, we don't want to give people a reason to stop
Bounce.
looking at bounce, right? They if you want their attention, and for that to happen, your whatever app on which whatever they are using, you need to make sure that they are engaged, right? And that you do not give them even 1 second to let them move away from what they are doing. So that is a place where, especially in today's world where the attention span is still reducing, and in today's world especially, I think it makes a lot of sense to use a native mobile app environment.
Great. Talking about customer behavior, what are the would love to understand how the app customer behavior is different with the web. What kind of insight that have unlocked with app as a channel? Now it's around 22%. There have been months where we have seen it's hitting 27% also, wherein marketing team pushed it a lot. So we see that the adoption is coming in, but would love to understand, like, in terms of like, how do you see a different user behavior versus web, and what kind of insights it has opened up for you?
Sure. I think the first thing is that most of your loyal customers tend to use mobile app, because anyone who wants to use it again, wants to use your kind of like, service again and again, whoever wants to stick with you, a brand or a marketplace like ours, right? Most of the customers who want to use again and again, they would want to have a native experience. I don't think, frankly, they would want to open the browser, open the website and all of that. If they're a repeat user and they have strong sense of loyalty to your brand, they would install your app, right? And because that's the fastest way for anyone to, so because they clearly know what they want to order. Click a few buttons and they're done. And then, like, of course, they want to track their order. So they subscribe for push notifications. So it's kind of a breeze, right? Thinking about their life, right? Like in a few, minutes, and probably in less than a minute, they can place an order, track their order, like, get notifications there. They're all done. They don't need to go somewhere, figure out what's going on, check their email, like, it's not a great experience. So that itself, gives a great advantage, because now all our best customers are on the app, and all best customers tend to spend more, stick with us longer, make more repeat sales, and have larger order value, right? All that stuff, right? But in general, whether a customer uses an app because they're loyal or not, we have noticed that the time, anyone who installs an app, the time to their second order is like much faster than that of web. And the other interesting insight that we've noticed is that people who use a mobile app as well as browser both, their lifetime value is significantly higher than people who use just the web browser based purchases, right? So surprisingly, it's almost like what, close to 3 times, like 200% more
That is,
than the typical behavior. So that is amazing, and that's unexpected, and that was an insight that I think Appbrew team has like made us aware of. So that is something we weren't aware of, but that's the most surprising thing that we found.
So we kind of did an analysis of 1.5 million app users across the brands. And we figured out that the best nudge for like increasing the customer LTV is moving brand customers to an app for the second transaction. So wherein like brands have set up their like user acquisition channel through Meta and other things for the first transaction. Once they push customers to an app for the second transaction, that is where the value unlock happens. For few brands, the LTV we saw, especially for cross-channel customers, were like as high as like 7-8 times. So that's the value we saw. One interesting thing which I'm like very happy about, like the way Distacart team is using our Dista team is using our product, is personalization. And like team Dista serves like in the global geographies. So tell me more about this.
So one of the first requirements that I came to Vijit with when he asked me if we could use their service is that, guys, we are a multi-country first marketplace, right? So this is not something a lot of app providers like take seriously, right? Because not many brands sell in multiple countries. Of course, they will have a certain set of customers, but that's not a major use case for any. But that was the first thing that we wanted from Appbrew. If we were to use their app infrastructure, and it's very extremely important for us to have different experience for different users in various countries, and each country should have its own customized experience in terms of like what they see on the home screen, the currency, the shipping rates. We display the shipping prices prominently on the shipping fee on the product pages, and we also show how fast they can get an order. So there are a lot of integrations that that Appbrew team had to build, which we were already doing on our browser. So even though we are using Shopify, we built a lot of framework on top of it, where we created a lot of features which are actually extremely important for cross-border customers who are sitting in various countries. Now, without the support of Appbrew in migrating those features to the app, we wouldn't be able to provide a consistent experience across multiple channels. So that is something I really like about Appbrew team, because each customer, no matter which country they come from, they always feel like they're browsing a native app that was designed to their specific. So that is what I liked about Abbrew's technology.
Yeah. So it is just like, it's series of coincidences that like helped us build that feature. So initially when we go to the brands, they will always ask us, you know what, I'm having an app, I want to give something extra. And fundamentally they will say, you know what, Amazon gives personalized shopping experience. And it is not that they will ask us to like get a moon for them. They will have basic things, Oh, can I give a different experience to new user and a repeat user? Can I personalize experience based on IP? Even in the different cities, the user behavior is different. Let's say for like in LA, it's always like spring or like a different weather. In New York, you need to have a different merchandising. Very basic use case, but most of the brands struggle to do it on the website. But on an app, we were able to like crack it. So those things we kept building in, and whenever the complex stores like Dista came in, it helped us sync with the like existing web browsing team and like bring it out for the better experience for the customer. Okay, and this is the last question from an app. We see push notification is a very critical channel for the users, and we see that around 42% of the sessions on an app starts with push notifications. And anybody who wants to have an app, for them the push notification comes at the top of the mind where they can nudge them. Any learnings that you can share with the brands, like how Dista is leveraging push notifications?
Sure. I think the first thing is that Appbrew itself comes with like an out of the box features in terms of like basic or even some not so basic and close to advanced push notifications out of the box. They clearly tell you what notifications you can use, which are kind of most widely used, and some of the best practices in the industry they've already shared. But given that we were always kind of like, in terms of our thinking, we were always app first. We always had a lot of push notifications that we had already planned from the past. So we migrated a lot of those to Appbrew as well. And of course, there were more capabilities which we also enabled in Appbrew. But some of the basic push notifications I strongly recommend for any brand or marketplace would be typically whatever you do on email and SMS have an equivalent for mobile app also, right? Which is like an abandoned cart push, right? And then you have a welcome series push. And then once you are done placing an order, now any update related to the order, that is the most important push notification that every brand owner has, right? Because customers, once they place an order, they're always eager. Their mind is always about how do I get that order rather than now thinking about placing a new order, right? Because they need to get what they ordered first. So they really need to know every single thing that happens at every stage of the order process. Let's say for whatever reason it's delayed, they need to get to know. So before they reach out to you, if you send a push notification with the most recent information, they would really love you for it, right? So we have automations to send push notifications at various stages of the order, and that is something we enable. And after that, we also send a replenishment reminder saying, okay, it's been a while since you placed an order. So a lot of products that we sell are consumables. So of course, people would have to order again. Those are some of the life cycle wise, right? In terms of a customer life cycle, we try to nudge customers into taking specific actions throughout their journey, their customer journey. So those are some of the other push notifications that have also served us very well. So apart from this, of course, whenever we do a campaign, when we send emails and SMS notifications for our customers, but at the same time, we do that first on the app, right? Because anyone using an app, I would consider them a premium, right? So these people need to get a better offer, and these people also need to know about an offer faster than the other customers. And typically, the offers for mobile users last longer than that of a web user. So these are the ways in which we incentivize an app user to using push notifications to make sure that they stick with the app for a long. So these are some of the notifications that have worked well for us.
Cool. This is great. Now we'll get back into get back to the Distacart vision and everything.
Sure.
Thank you for all the insights for app. Like, I think we had a great content now. One is you started Dista from India to the world. Then there is Dista Global from world to India. What's your vision for 10 years down the lane? Like, imagine how would it look like?
Sure. See, I think just to kind of a minor change to what you just mentioned, Distacart.com is our marketplace for Indian products across the world. And Dista Global is our umbrella, branding for various product lines we offer. So Distacart is a marketplace, and we have Dista X, which is our cross-border expansion via D2C, and of course, mobile app. Some people would be using our mobile app infrastructure for that. So for a cross-border mobile app and website, that full stack platform, we are calling it Dista X, right? And we also help brands expand on various marketplaces across the world with a single tech integration, which we call Dista Markets. So these are various product features of ours, and the umbrella branding for all of that is Dista Global. So apart from that, we also have a kind of a small marketplace that we run for global products, like, to be delivered to India, right? So that website is distausa.com, but it's just a minor project, but like, that we've been doing, but thankfully it's like, performing really well. There's a lot of interest for global products within India. So that is a small kind of experiment that we are running, but it's kind of performing very well. But the reason we started experimenting with Dista USA, as in global products centered around USA to India and other countries, is because we truly want to be, at some point of time in the near future, we want to be anywhere store, right? Not like anything store, but anywhere store. So we imagine, like, a world in which a customer, no matter where they live, is able to purchase products from anywhere across the world as seamlessly as they would from their domestic market. So that is a kind of world I imagine, and I want Dista to be like the infrastructure that facilitates this kind of behavior for the customer. So that is, we want to enable infrastructure in a world where people can buy any product from anywhere with the click of a button, like, as seamlessly as possible. So that is a long-term vision for Dista, and that's truly that's the name. That's where the name comes from, right? Like Dista, we shrink distance no matter where the customer. So that's our true vision down.
And like, does it mean that in future you will have your stores like housing brands, or it would be fundamentally focused on infra?
So the thing is that, of course, infra will exist, but fundamentally we envision a future where, with a single marketplace, Dista, a customer, no matter which country they are, like, the experience should be, it will auto detect the country where the customer is, and now the customer would have an option to choose from any country where they want to buy, and from that country, all the list of products, like, all that would appear in front of, no matter where they're in a mobile app or a website or whatever it is. So truly, it's a marketplace first. But apart from that, we always feel that just operating a marketplace itself is not good enough, because that wouldn't capture the whole market. To be able to get economies of scale, we feel that it's always better to provide infrastructure that you not only use for yourself, which is a marketplace, but at the same time you also make it a service that you also expose to other players. So that way, like, you can aggregate the demand across all the channels, and you will be able to provide better economics for everyone in every channel. So that is the kind of future we envision, where, like, we are an omni-channel infrastructure, but also the operators of a marketplace, because we want to eat our own dog food first. So it's like Amazon. If you think about it, they, like, build all their solutions for their marketplace, Amazon.com, and slowly they have productized all their services, right? I mean, of course, Amazon is at a different scale, but even for us, that's kind of the long-term vision. We don't want to spread too thin and productize each and every service that we build. But at the same time, like, we feel that there are economies of scale that we can leverage by providing an infrastructure apart from operating a market. And also, when I go to any brand customer of ours, the moment I tell them that I have this infrastructure, I want them to feel confident that I'm also using that infrastructure for myself. There are a lot of SaaS providers which build SaaS and say that, yeah, use my SaaS. Then, like, they haven't themselves used it, but they're saying, yeah, you should use it, it'll work for you. So we want to come from a position of strength where we have tried it ourselves, and it's actively getting used in production before I go and sell it to someone. So that's
Got
kind
it.
of the high level vision.
Yeah, and with AI coming in, how has like what's the approach here with like leveraging AI to build this out? So what are the things you are seeing?
Sure. I think AI kind of changes the game completely. So when we initially started, AI wasn't that big in terms of, like, so we could leverage machine learning and, like, probably like initial kind of like developments in artificial intelligence. But I think the whole Gen AI kind of infrastructure changed the whole game for us. We actively use AI in various aspects of our technology and day-to-day, lives of our employees. And so we have agents doing various tasks. marketing, website development, and customer support, finance, and a lot of these aspects. But at the same time, we use AI mainly to kind of operate our platform, in the sense that the infrastructure that we build uses AI heavily, because now, if you remember from the conversation that we had earlier, we have to understand the regulation like in various countries. The technology, we have to always, it has to be up to date with respect to any regulation changes that are there. So we, we'll have agents that will go and crawl the latest information about changing regulations. So that wouldn't have been possible without AI, right? So, you can go write web crawlers, but it's not the same as an agent running and smartly parsing information. So this MCP makes it much easier for us to go and extract information from various sources across the web to figure out the latest regulation or changes to regulation. And now, incorporating that into a technology and making it available for all the brand customers of ours, right? So that is one of the major use cases for us to use AI. And of course, creating country compliant descriptions for products, so that we don't violate any laws of the countries where the products are being sold. That is another way we actively use AI. And on top of it, we also provide custom experiences for customers on our website. So we actively use AI for personalization. I think just so many applications that use AI that I find it difficult to explain so many use cases. We would like to think that our entire thing across the stack is almost powered by AI. So I feel that there will be a point of time in the near future where we will migrate everything. So we'll kind of have a base AI layer and everything will be built on top of it. That's the kind of future I can see myself getting towards.
I think we had a great learning about Dista, your approach to the brands. I think this is something which is very useful for any brand founder who's starting out today, or they have attained certain scale. Everybody should be talk to you, whoever wants to go global. And I see a very strong momentum here in India where brands are actively selling, bridging different geographies for scale. The most great learning for me, it is not only like Indian diaspora. It is like 30-40% of the people, whose problem statement resonates with the brand, they are using this start to buy Indian brands. So I think very valuable for the whole DTC ecosystem as well as the bigger brands. This is the last question for the podcast. Tell us, and we ask every our guest here, tell us two brand founders that you admire, and what do you admire about them?
So when you say a brand, does it have to be a physical good brand, or what is it that specifically you're talking about?
Yeah, so it needs to be like a brand. It can be CPG, it can be fashion or anything. So two brand founders, which you find, that like these guys are done a phenomenal great job. And the whole idea is, in sometimes we'll get them on our podcast. But and this is what you admire about them.
Sure. So I think I'll have to think hard. I wish I had known about this question before. I think definitely, I think the one brand is Kylie Jenner.
Yeah.
I really admire what she has built. I mean, I'm not a big fan of reality TV shows and all of that stuff, but I think the way she leveraged her personal, familiarity as a celebrity into building a multi-billion-dollar brand at such an age, at such a young age, I think that actually creates a playbook for a lot of celebrities who are trying to capitalize on the equity that they have, in terms of their celebrity status. So that is definitely noteworthy, with the kind of experience that she was coming from and building a brand which probably she didn't know anything about, and the way she went on and created that huge multi-billion-dollar brand, that is certainly admirable. So that is one for sure. And coming to the other brand, I think I'm sure in India we have, I think I would like to probably go with Honasa as the second brand, because I really thought, I think they created a category until they started out the whole good for you, safe for you, organic kind of thing wasn't popular in the Indian market. Now you can, I mean, of course they have been also been getting some flack online for minor issues that they might be having, but at the same time you can't deny the fact that they built a brand with an approach that you should use natural, safe products, sulfate free, paraben free. I don't think any brand took that approach, especially in India, before they did. And I really thought among the other brands in India, most of the brands in India are actually owned by conglomerates like Hindustan Unilever and Aditya Birla, Reliance, and all of that. So I really expected some bigger conglomerate to acquire them. But the fact that they choose to stay independent, create multiple brands, acquire brands, and by themselves becoming a conglomerate, that is kind of, I really admire the way they have not only created a category, but also how they are going on about creating their business. And I typically see that whenever a new trend comes, they are the first one to latch onto it. They were one of the very first adopters of cross-border commerce and international commerce before anyone did. And there is a lot of areas where I think they were the first. So I would say, apart from the major conglomerates like Hindustan Unilever, Godrej, and all of these, which have been there for generations, I think Honasa is a true modern brand that has created its own house of brands. So I feel that is probably the next one that I admire.
Yeah. So, and it's not about like, just creating a brand. Honasa itself has inspired a generation of founders to build
Yes.
businesses with a meaningful outcome. And we kind of work with Honasa and a lot of brands like who work with like Honasa founders, which like, and that has been like, very great learning for us, which we were like, where like fundamentally our motto is building enabling brands to build long-term relationship with their customers. So and great learning for us, like working with them and the brands around them. So I think this is great. I just wanted to like thank you, and our podcast is kind of sponsored by a gourmet coffee brand, which is Savor Coffee, based out of Austin. And every Monday we kind of brew a Armenian coffee and ship it to our guests. So we'll like take your address and ship it to you. Hopefully you'll
Awesome.
get that, next week. Thank you. Thank you all for like, thank you for coming out, sharing a lot of insights. And we believe this is the very valuable episode for the founders who want to build it for the world from India. So thank you, Kiran. Thank you for
Thank you so much.